Hello everyone. Today's topic of discussion is a revision of vitamin B complex. These are the water soluble vitamins. We'll discuss these vitamins together. It is important for short answer questions, long answer questions. There are a lot of MCQs from this topic and it is very important in Viva. So we'll discuss the vitamin B1, B2, B3, B5, B6, B7, B9 and B12. These are the important B complex vitamins. Now what are their names? B1 it is thiamine, B2 riboflavin, B3 niacin, B5 is the pantothenic acid, B6 pyridoxine, B7 biotin, B9 folic acid and B12 is cobalamin. These are the important B complex vitamins. Now what are their active forms? The active form of thiamine is the thiamine pyrophosphate. Riboflavin it is FAD, FMN, flavin adenine dinucleotide and flavin mononucleotide. Then niacin it is NAD, nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide, NADP, NADPH. These are the coenzyme forms of these vitamins. Pantothenic acid it is coenzyme A, pyridoxine it is pyridoxal phosphate, biotin it is biocytin, folic acid it is tetrahydrofolate and cobalamin it is adenosyl B12, adenosyl cobalamin and methyl cobalamin, methyl B12. These are the coenzyme forms of vitamin B12. So these are the names, these are the coenzyme forms. Now RDA. The RDA of thiamine it is 1 milligram per day. Riboflavin it is 1 to 1.5 milligram per day. Niacin it is 20 milligram per day. Pantothenic acid it is 10 milligram. Pyridoxine it is 2 milligram. Biotin it is 30 to 100 microgram per day. Folic acid it is 200 microgram and vitamin B12 it is 2 microgram. So these are the RDA of this B complex. B1 thiamine, thiamine pyrophosphate is the active form or coenzyme form, requirement is 1 milligram. Riboflavin, active forms are FAD and FMN, requirement is 1 to 1.5 milligram. Niacin, NAD, NADP, NADPH, requirement is 20 milligram. Pantothenic acid, coenzyme A is the active form, requirement 10 milligram. Pyridoxine, pyridoxal phosphate is the active form, requirement 2 milligram. Biotin, active form is biocytin, 30 to 100 microgram. Folic acid, tetrahydrofolate is the active form, 200 microgram is the requirement. Cobalamin, adenosyl B12 and methyl B12, these are the coenzyme form or active form of the vitamin and requirement is 2 microgram. Confusion in the biotin is there. In lot of book it is in milligram, but requirement of biotin it is in microgram. Just remember that it is 30 to 100 microgram per day. Now the sources. Important dietary sources. For the thiamine it is whole grains. It is whole grains, cereals, pulses. These are the important sources for thiamine. Whole grains, it is present in outer alluron layer of the cereals. It is present in outer alluron layer of the cereals and polishing of these grains will remove this thiamine. So eating polished rice as a staple diet will cause thiamine deficiency. Then riboflavin important sources are the cereals, yeast, meat, fish, eggs, etc. Okay. Now the niacin sources mainly include meat, fish, eggs, yeast, etc. Also the vegetables. So these are the important sources for niacin, pantothenic acid, pyridoxine and biotin. Niacin, pantothenic acid, pyridoxine, biotin. These are the same sources. Meat, fish, eggs, yeast, cereals, grains, vegetables. These are the sources for these vitamins. Biotin. Then folic acid, important dietary sources include folic acid means folium. It means leaves of green leafy vegetables. So green leafy vegetables, these are the important sources for folic acid. And cobalamin, it is synthesized by the microorganism. It is synthesized by the intestinal bacteria. So it is found in food of animal origin. It is only found in food of animal origin. Means non-vegetarian sources, meat, fish. These are the sources for vitamin B12. And it is the water soluble vitamin which gets stored. It gets stored in the liver in the form of adenosyl B12. It is stored in the liver in the form of adenosyl B12. Requirement is 2 microgram. It is 2 microgram per day. So this is about the name, active form or coenzyme form, then the requirement, that is RDA, and sources of these vitamins. Now we'll discuss the biochemical functions and deficiency manifestations. Now important biochemical functions of thiamine, it includes, it is required for oxidative decarboxylation reaction. Oxidative decarboxylation reaction. So it is mainly required for this reaction, that is conversion of pyruvate to acetyl coenzyme A. This is important reaction, oxidative decarboxylation, which requires 5 coenzymes, 3 enzymes and 5 coenzymes, PDH, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So 5 coenzymes includes thymine pyrophosphate, lipoic acid, coenzyme A, FAD and NAD. These are the important 5 coenzymes for this oxidative decarboxylation. So it is this PDH, the same reaction is catalyzed by alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase and branch chain ketoacid dehydrogenase. Branch chain ketoacyl dehydrogenase. So these three, these are in the B1, then B5, B2 and B3 niacin. Okay, so it catalyzes the oxidative decarboxylation. And second important reaction is the transketolase reaction. Transketolase reaction, it is in the HMP shunt. It is important in the HMP shunt. So these two reactions, they are catalyzed by the thymine pyrophosphate. Okay, so if there is deficiency of thymine, it causes the energy deficiency because it is related with the pyruvate dehydrogenase and alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase. Also it causes the neurological manifestations. Because it hampers the acetylcholine synthesis. Okay, and it also means it affects the nerve transmission. So that's why there is peripheral neuritis is there in the thiamine deficiency. So deficiency of thiamine, it will causes the beriberi. It will causes the beriberi. Means weakness. There is weakness. There are 3 types of beriberi, mainly the dry beriberi, which has neurological involvement in the form of peripheral neuritis. Then wet beriberi, it mainly includes the cardiac manifestations. Severe symptoms are there: palpitation, breathlessness, there is edema, and the accumulation of fluid in the pericardial cavity and the pleural cavity. So wet beriberi is there. And the third one is the infantile beriberi. When the pregnant mother, when the mother is suffered from the thiamine deficiency, the child will have the beriberi. It is known as infantile beriberi, and it is having the cardiac manifestations. So cardiac manifestations are there in wet beriberi and infantile beriberi, while the central nervous system CNS manifestations and peripheral neuritis will be there in the dry beriberi. So these are the symptoms in the beriberi. It is mainly in the population where the rice, the polished rice is a staple diet. 80% of the thiamine it is removed in the polishing, so that's why it causes the beriberi. Again, one syndrome is there which is in the this thiamine deficiency, that is Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. In this syndrome there is global confusion, ataxia, ophthalmoplegia, memory loss, and psychosis. These are the symptoms. It is typically in the alcoholic. Because alcohol consumption decreases the absorption of thiamine from the intestine, and also it affects the conversion of thiamine to thiamine pyrophosphate. So this is the important disease caused by deficiency of thiamine. Now riboflavin, the important reaction, it is mainly involved this FAD and FMN. These are involved in the oxidation reduction reaction. It is involved in the oxidation reduction reaction. So it is also there in the pyruvate dehydrogenase and alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex. Along with that, this FAD, it is also important in succinate dehydrogenase, then acyl CoA dehydrogenase, fatty acyl CoA dehydrogenase reaction, also important in the xanthine oxidase reaction. This FMN, it is important in the L-amino acid oxidase, oxidation of L-amino acid. This is in the oxidation of D-amino acid. So FAD and FMN, they are involved in this reaction. So as such, the deficiency of riboflavin is not severe. The manifestations in the riboflavin deficiency, it mainly includes that is riboflavinosis. It causes, there is cheilosis, there the fissure in the angle of mouth, then glossitis, inflammation of the tongue which causes the red color tongue. Okay, so it is cheilosis, glossitis, then dermatitis. These are the features. Stomatitis, dermatitis, these are the features of the riboflavin deficiency. Okay, now the niacin, the important one, the deficiency of niacin causes the pellagra. Now coming to the niacin deficiency, it causes pellagra. If there is deficiency of niacin, it causes pellagra. There are classical symptoms of pellagra. The functions of niacin. First, we see the functions of the niacin. The NAD, there are NAD dependent reaction. There are NADP dependent reaction and NADPH dependent reaction. So it is very easy to remember if you remember the pathway. If you try to recollect the pathway, you can easily write down the reactions of NAD, NADP and NADPH. Suppose glycolysis. In glycolysis, two dehydrogenases are there. One is the glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase. Second one is the lactate dehydrogenase. These are the NAD dependent reaction. Got it? So you can write here glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate dehydrogenase reaction, lactate dehydrogenase reaction. If you think about the Krebs cycle, then isocitrate dehydrogenase, alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase, malate dehydrogenase. Okay, so these are the NAD dependent reaction. NADP dependent reaction, it is mainly in the HMP shunt, hexose monophosphate shunt. glucose 6 phosphate dehydrogenase reaction. It is important in the NADP. It is important NADP dependent reaction. Okay. Then NADPH dependent reaction. It is fatty acid synthesis, cholesterol synthesis. It is NADPH dependent. That is the ketoacyl reductase, HMG-CoA reductase. These are the NADPH dependent reactions. So there are number of reactions which are dependent on the niacin. Niacin deficiency, there is pellagra. It is characterized by classical 3 Ds, that is diarrhea, dementia, and dermatitis. These are the classical symptoms of pellagra: diarrhea, dementia, dermatitis. So dermatitis, it is mainly the sun exposed part of the body around the, typically around the neck. It causes the Castle's necklace. It is known as Castle's necklace. Castle's necklace, that is necklace shaped dermatitis around the neck. Okay, so these are the features of pellagra. The amino acid which is responsible for NAD synthesis is tryptophan. 60 milligram of tryptophan will give you the 1 milligram of NAD. 1 milligram of NAD. Okay, got it? So this is pellagra, niacin deficiency, 3 Ds, and these are the reactions catalyzed by the niacin. Now pantothenic acid, B5 or pantothenic acid. Okay, so it is acyl carrier, coenzyme A, it is acyl carrier. There are compounds which is formed by the coenzyme A, that is acetyl coenzyme A, succinyl coenzyme A, acyl coenzyme A. Okay, so these are the compound. So it is acyl carrier. It is important in number of reaction. For example, pyruvate dehydrogenase complex, alpha ketoglutarate dehydrogenase complex, and it is important in synthesis of various compounds. Okay, as such there is no deficiency manifested in B5 deficiency. There is very rare, but the Indian scientist gives one deficiency which is related with pantothenic acid, that is burning feet syndrome. It is known as burning feet syndrome. Burning feet syndrome. There is paresthesia and numbness in the legs. Paresthesia and numbness in the legs due to deficiency of pantothenic acid. That is known as burning feet syndrome. It is discovered and given by the Gopalan. So it is discovered by the scientist Gopalan. Burning feet syndrome. You can get MCQ on burning feet syndrome and important functions of B5 in the BAQ 2-mark question. Okay, this is about the pantothenic acid. Now coming to the pyridoxine. There are 3 forms of the pyridoxine, that is pyridoxamine, pyridoxal, and pyridoxine. These are the 3 forms of the pyridoxine, and the important form is the coenzyme form is pyridoxal phosphate. So important reaction catalyzed by the pyridoxine is a pyridoxal phosphate is the transamination. This is the important reaction catalyzed by the pyridoxine or pyridoxal phosphate. So you know the example, that is SGOT, SGPT. These are the SGPT. These are the transaminases. Second important reaction which is responsible for synthesis of neurotransmitter, it is decarboxylation. So by this reaction there is formation of epinephrine, norepinephrine, then histamine, serotonin formation is there. So there is formation of GABA. So these are the various neurotransmitter formed by the decarboxylation reaction. Then transsulfuration reaction is there, that is cystathione beta synthase. It is cystathionine beta synthase reaction. It is PLP dependent reaction. Okay, so these are the important transamination reaction, decarboxylation reaction, transsulfuration reaction, then non-oxidative deamination reaction. These reactions, they are catalyzed with the help of pyridoxal phosphate. Then 80% of the muscle, 80% of the muscle pyridoxal phosphate, it is involved in the glycogen phosphorylase reaction. Glycogen phosphorylase reaction. So these are the important reactions catalyzed by the pyridoxal phosphate. Now deficiency manifestation, deficiency of pyridoxal phosphate will causes the neurological symptoms. It causes neurological symptoms. Also, pyridoxal phosphate, it is important in the synthesis of heme. So first reaction of the heme synthesis, that is catalyzed by the ALA synthase, it is dependent on pyridoxine, so it causes the anemia. It causes anemia. So neurological manifestations are there, and anemia, it is related with the pyridoxine. Then there is excretion of xanthurinate in urine in PLP deficiency, because it is involved in the tryptophan metabolism, and deficiency of pyridoxine causes excretion of xanthurinate in urine. So these are the symptoms related with the pyridoxine or pyridoxal phosphate. Vitamin B6 requirement is 2 milligram per day. And if you got a case on pyridoxine, it is related with the INH, isoniazid, which is a drug given for the treatment of tuberculosis, and that depletes the pyridoxal phosphate level. That decreases the pyridoxal phosphate level. The INH drug, isoniazid drug given in the treatment of tuberculosis, decreases the pyridoxal phosphate level. Okay, so this is pyridoxal phosphate. Then biotin, it is important in the carboxylation reaction. Carboxylation reaction required A, B, C, ATP, biotin and CO2 and carboxylase. They are required for the carboxylation reaction: ATP, biotin, CO2, carboxylase. So three important carboxylase reaction, that is acetyl-CoA carboxylase, then propionyl-CoA carboxylase and pyruvate carboxylase. So acetyl coenzyme A carboxylase, then propionyl coenzyme A carboxylase and the pyruvate carboxylase. These are the important reactions which are dependent on biotin. So there are non-carboxylation, means biotin independent carboxylation reactions are there. They are asked in the viva. Particularly it involves the step in the urea synthesis and pyrimidine synthesis, also in the synthesis of purine nucleotide. This involves the non-biotin or biotin independent carboxylation reaction. Biotin independent carboxylation reaction, that is first step in the urea synthesis, pyrimidine synthesis, and the synthesis of aminoimidazole compound in the during the purine synthesis. These are the biotin independent carboxylation reactions, and this is the question in the viva. So these are the three reactions, important reaction. This is the first step in the fatty acid synthesis. This is in the gluconeogenesis, when odd chain fatty acid will give you glucose. This is the reaction. And pyruvate carboxylase, it is also reaction related with the gluconeogenesis. So these are the biotin dependent reactions. Okay, deficiency as such, it is very rare. Biotin deficiency is very rare, and if there is deficiency, it causes the hallucination, depression, weakness, like this muscle pain. These are the non-specific symptoms related with the biotin deficiency. Okay, now the most important is the folic acid and vitamin B12. So we'll discuss the function of the folic acid and vitamin B12. First, folic acid, the active form is tetrahydrofolate. The 5 important reaction, it catalyzes the 5 important reaction. It is involved in the 1 carbon metabolism. It is important in the transfer of 1 carbon moiety, that is methyl, methylene, then methenyl, formyl, these are the 1 carbon moiety, and it is involved in the transfer of 1 carbon moiety, and for this active form is the tetrahydrofolate. The dihydrofolate is converted, folate is converted into dihydrofolate, which is converted into tetrahydrofolate. So the important reactions are conversion of serine to glycine. Second, formation of thymidylate, that is from UMP, it is converted into thymidylate, TMP. Then third one is the formation of C2 and C8 of the purines. Then synthesis of farm-iminoglutamic acid, and the fifth reaction is conversion of homocysteine to methionine. These are the important 5 reactions catalyzed by the folate, tetrahydrofolate. Okay, so serine is converted into glycine, then UMP, the uridylate, it is converted into thymidylate. This is the last step in the TMP synthesis. C2 and C8 of the purines, then formation of the farm-iminoglutamic acid and homocysteine to methionine conversion. This requires the folic acid. Now deficiency of folic acid, it will lead to megaloblastic anemia. Megaloblastic anemia. Then excretion of FIGLU in urine in histidine load test. It is a intermediate in the histidine metabolism. So why there is megaloblastic anemia? Because it is involved in the TMP synthesis. It is involved in the thymidylate synthesis. It is involved in the purine synthesis. So if there is deficiency, there is decrease in the DNA synthesis or defective DNA synthesis. So nucleus will be smaller in size. So small size nucleus because of the size of DNA reduced because of decreased synthesis of purine and thymidylate, and there is arrest in the S phase of the cell cycle, and cell grows continuously without a cell division. So there is increase in the cytoplasm. So there is small nucleus and bigger is the cytoplasm. So that causes the macrocytosis. And premature or immature erythrocytes will be there. Erythrocytes will be immature. So this is the reason there is megaloblastic anemia in the folate deficiency. So this is the important in the deficiency of folate. This is the first. Second important is neural tube defect. Neural tube defect. If there is deficiency of folate during the pregnancy, it causes the neural tube defect, that is spina bifida, means defective closure of the spine. This causes the spina bifida and the anencephaly. Okay, there is defective covering of the brain. So anencephaly, spina bifida, these are known as neural tube defect if there is deficiency of folic acid in the pregnancy. And third important, that's why folic acid supplementation is given during the pregnancy. And third one is this is megaloblastic anemia, neural tube defect, and if there is increase in the homocysteine level, this homocysteine level, it will causes the cardiac manifestation. Homocysteine level, it causes the cardiac symptoms, cardiac manifestations. Okay, so and excretion of farm-iminoglutamic acid in the urine. These are the disorders related with the folate. Now the vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 has two important reaction, and deficiency will also causes the megaloblastic anemia. And along with megaloblastic anemia, there is methylmalonic acid excretion in the urine. So we'll see that. Vitamin B12 or cobalamin. B12 or cobalamin to form adenosyl B12 and methyl B12. It catalyzes the two reaction. So the methyl malonyl CoA, it is synthesized from the propionyl CoA by the biotin dependent reaction by the propionyl CoA carboxylase. Now this methyl malonyl CoA, it is converted into succinyl coenzyme A. Succinyl coenzyme A. Okay. So methyl malonyl CoA, it is with the help of methyl malonyl coenzyme A mutase. Methyl malonyl CoA mutase. This is B12 dependent reaction. It is adenosyl B12. And it is converted into succinyl coenzyme A. It can enter the TCA cycle or it can be in the heme synthesis. The first step of heme synthesis. Okay, so this is the one reaction. Second reaction is conversion of homocysteine to methionine. It is again B12 dependent reaction. The enzyme is methionine synthase, and it is also folate dependent. So in this reaction, this methyl tetrahydrofolate is converted into tetrahydrofolate. Okay, so these are the two important reactions of the B12, and these are very important reactions. Just remember these reactions. Now, if there is deficiency of this mutase, if there is B12 deficiency, this will hamper, and there is accumulation of methyl malonyl coenzyme A. Now, this methyl malonyl coenzyme A, it competes with the malonyl coenzyme A of fatty acid synthesis. It affects the fatty acid synthesis. It decreases the formation of myelin. It also causes the defect in the myelin formation. Okay, so that causes the neurological manifestations. And also there is excretion of this methyl malonic acid in urine, that is causes methyl malonic aciduria. And another is if there is blockade in this reaction, there is accumulation of homocysteine that will causes the cardiac manifestations, severe symptoms, because this homocysteine it reacts with the collagen cross links, leads to the free radical formation and causes the oxidized LDL formation that causes the atherosclerosis. So it is harmful, increase homocysteine level. And again, if there is B12 deficiency, this conversion of methyl tetrahydrofolate to tetrahydrofolate get blocked, and there is no use of methyl tetrahydrofolate. So there is functional deficiency of tetrahydrofolate, because this is of no use, and this is known as folate trap. In B12 deficiency, there is functional deficiency of tetrahydrofolate. It gets trapped as methyl tetrahydrofolate. So that's why it is known as folate trap. So B12 deficiency, it will causes the megaloblastic anemia. If there is deficiency of intrinsic factor, it causes the pernicious anemia. If the deficiency of intrinsic factor. Okay, then methyl malonic aciduria is there. Because of there is blockade in the enzyme, there is increased excretion of methyl malonic acid, and it affects the myelin formation. So it affects the nervous system, and there is subacute degeneration of spinal cord. Okay, so if there is neurological manifestations with megaloblastic anemia and increased excretion of methyl malonic acid, so go for megaloblastic anemia with because of B12 deficiency. And if there is megaloblastic anemia, but there is along with megaloblastic anemia, if there is neural tube defect or pregnancy is given and neural tube defect is mentioned, then go with the megaloblastic anemia due to folate deficiency. Okay, so this is all about the revision of B complex vitamin. There are separate videos of individual vitamins. You can watch the separate video. So keep watching. Thank you.